Hi, thanks for joining us again. I'm Chris, one of the senior portfolio managers at Hackstons, and it's the end of season 1, so we thought we'd finish it off with a bit of a corker. We're at the Gobpsy in the City of London, which is a speakeasy. Now, you've probably been to one, you won't know all that much about why they're called that or where they come from, but we're going to go inside with the head bartender, Angelo, and find out a little bit more about this bar and speakeasies altogether. So come on inside and let's learn a little bit more. Hi there, I'm here for the Meet the Pros season finale. Thanks. Wow. Angelo, hi. How are you?
Nice to meet you.
Good to see you.
Welcome to Gobpsy.
This is fantastic.
Yeah,
I think this
thank
is
you.
for us, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it, mate.
Brilliant. Well, this is, I think that's probably one of the best entrances to a bar I've ever come across.
It looks like, is it?
You're probably used to it by now, though. How
Yeah.
long have you been here?
Not that long, actually, just for a month.
Okay,
Yeah.
nice one. So it's a pretty new
Yeah,
endeavor
it's
for
new,
you.
Yeah, it's new to me as well. Yeah.
How long have you been in the industry?
In this for more than 10 years.
Wow,
Yeah.
so a long time. And in London?
5.
Wow,
I've been here for 5 years now.
so pretty experienced, fantastic.
Yeah.
The-
Say so.
something that's not particularly common when coming into a bar is walking through a barbershop.
A barbershop. No, that's not.
Yeah, I mean, presumably you guys that work here have got fantastic haircuts all of the time because you've got no
Every
excuse.
Tuesday for free. Yeah. That's amazing.
Well, this is a real treat for us. This is obviously the season finale of Meet the Pros, our educational series about the whiskey market.
Yeah.
We thought we were going to give you a little bit of a challenge today to make us some whiskey cocktails from films.
Yeah.
Because it's a speakeasy and because it's obviously a 1920s themed and very cinema-like bar,
Yeah.
we were going to give you that little challenge. But I had to do some research because, you know, it's a speakeasy, we all know that term, but I had to look into where the word actually comes from. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's from the Prohibition.
Yeah, exactly.
And obviously the speakeasy is, you know, it's hush-hush, you don't talk about it
Yeah,
too
exactly.
much. But I had to look into it, and apparently the first time it was actually described and written down was in an Australian newspaper where they called them sly grog shops. This is a bit more than a sly grog shop, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Fantastic. Are you a whiskey drinker yourself, or is this?
Yeah, no Scotch, mostly bourbon, but yeah, I think
Okay.
I can do something for you, mate.
And what's your favourite bourbon?
He's definitely Woodford. I'm an old-fashioned drinker, and that fits amazingly with it.
Fantastic, fantastic. Just before we actually jump into the fun bit, the drinking, I'm just going to have a conversation with the other portfolio
Sure.
managers and talk about the whiskies that they've chosen. But
Lovely.
we'll come back to you in a second. Bear with us. Guys, good to see you.
Good to see you, Chris.
Thanks for coming in. Anyone have a haircut upstairs, Ricky?
Yeah, I had a little trim.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, the goal for today was to have a bit of fun, but also set ourselves and Angelo a bit of a challenge, wasn't it? So it was basically to come up with a base for a cocktail, a whiskey base for a cocktail that we've noticed or seen in a film. How did we get on? Did we all find something?
Yeah, we all found something.
Really?
Yep.
Well, it's going to be interesting to hear why and what's caught your attention. Reese, what did you find?
So I went for the film Lost in Translation. Big fan. Who doesn't love a bit of Bill Murray and Scarlett Johansson? Set in Japan, so I've naturally gone for Japanese whiskey, Hibiki.
For relaxing times, make it Suntory time.
You glossed over Scarlett Johansson there. I think we can probably read between the lines as to why that's a favourite
Yeah,
of
we'll,
yours.
we'll get into that a little bit later. We'll get into that a little bit
Do
later.
you like the Japanese stuff?
Do you know what? I'm pretty new to it, to be honest. I'm a fan of Scotch, but I know that in terms of, you know, globally, I think the Japanese whiskies are seen as the closest to what is provided by the Scotch market. Of course, it's not the same, but I'd be interested to see just how close they can get for myself.
That's going to be an interesting one to craft in a cocktail, and you know, it's not our issue. I mean, Angelo's going to have the challenge of putting it in something that you're going to enjoy, but that leads us quite nicely on to Dylan, who of course grew up in Japan. and has a little bit of a different view on the Japanese whiskies. But Dill, what did you find?
So I've gone for Star Trek because I'm a nerd.
Fair enough.
Right. And a safe option, which is Glenfiddich.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Lordy.
But in the film, they drink a 30-year-old, but we couldn't afford a 30-year-old. So we've got something a little bit cheaper.
What have we got?
We've got 15 or 12. But Angelo.
We've got a 12 or a 15, or rather, Angelo's got us a 12 or a 15.
Yeah.
That'll be exciting.
100%.
But you've got a little bit of a different opinion on the Japanese whiskies. You're not as big a fan.
No, I think Japan are trying, as they always do, to just copy, what the Scotch have done traditionally. I mean, it is Scotch. It's not Japanese Scotch. I don't really see the point. I think they should just be completely independent and make their own thing rather than trying to replicate something else.
That'll probably come in time, though, won't it? Well, they'll have their own sort of in-house distilleries and they'll bring everything in. But at the end of the day, it's not going to be the same, is it?
But China are buying everything in Japan at the moment anyway, so it's not really Japanese as it stands.
So we've got it was the Hibiki. We've got the Hibiki, the Glenfiddich, and talking of Glenfiddich, Glen, what have you gone for?
I probably went relatively safe based on what I like to drink, more Highland stuff. And everybody loves Bond. Everybody knows Macallan. So I just went down that route and we're looking at a nice Macallan 15. The one in the movie was a Macallan 50.
So, what's the toast? To the women we love?
Which is going on what Dylan said, rather expensive. So we're going to try out the Macallan 15. As I said, it's just the palate that I like. I'm more of the Highlands. I feel you can mix more with that. You have more variety, and it's more fun with cocktails.
And you imagine that you're James Bond?
I mean, one can dream, but I think know the reality of it.
Every man at some stage in their life has imagined themselves as Bond, or up to a certain point. It's probably, 40 years old? Do you think I could still be Bond?
Yeah.
Someone could just say to me one day, do you know what? Come on in, be the next James Bond. So let's boil it back a little bit. You've gone for the safe option, the Macallan, because you like Macallan, but also you think you're James Bond, which is fair enough. You've gone for the lost in translation because you imagine yourself in a film with Scarlett Johansson. And
Reading between the lines, are we?
yeah, and you're a Trekkie, so you've gone with the Glenfiddich. Is that a reasonable summary so far?
Yeah, I would like to be Bond so I could meet Scarlett Johansson. I think that's also my thought process. It would help, wouldn't it? You just go to a bar, order a Macallan, your ego just goes through the roof.
It'd be nice work if you can get it, wouldn't it? But we can all dream. Ricky,
Yes.
you've got an interesting philosophy on drinks and cocktail mixes. I think I'm probably most excited to hear about what you've selected. What have you gone for?
So I've gone for a new age version of James Bond, film being The Kingsman. So Secret Service. I suppose somewhere in the back of my head, like you mentioned, in a previous life, that was a role that I had. And I've gone for a Highland single malt. I've gone for the Dalmore, iconic brand. The whiskey used in the film is a Dalmore 62.
1962 Dalmore. It'd be a sin to spill any, don't you think?
Which is over £125,000 per bottle. So we got 4 of them shipped in. We've gone for a slightly more affordable Dalmore, but as with all Dalmore expressions, that you'll always feel the citrus notes, orange, Seville orange. So yeah, it's one of my favourites.
Is it the Portwood?
That's the one, yeah.
So it's the port finish. Okay, so that's if I had to drink Dalmore, which isn't my absolute favourite, but it's something I can certainly drink, I always lean towards a port finish. So I think that's going to be interesting. Any guesses as to what your cocktail might be, or just going to leave it to
I'm going to
Angelo?
leave it to Angelo, but he's definitely got his work cut out with our choices.
Yeah, he's got a lot of work to do, but he's certainly quite capable, I think. So,
What have you done?
well, I struggled actually. I struggled to find something I thought was going to be interesting, And then it suddenly came to me. So we're in a prohibition-style bar, right? It's a bit, I mean, it's legal now, but it's a bit naughty. It was legal. It was a sly grog shop, as we learnt earlier. So I thought, where is there a bit of naughty whiskey film involvement? And out of nowhere it hit me, The Exorcist. Can anyone guess where in The Exorcist there is a whiskey feature? A free drink for whoever can guess it. Nope.
Nope.
So there is a scene, if we cast our minds back. Has everyone seen The Exorcist?
Many years ago.
Have you not seen it?
Probably not. I can't remember it.
I'll be honest, horror films.
Yeah,
Can't do horror films.
We're not, nah.
I don't think Scarlett Johansson's in many horror
No,
films.
it's just, not that. I mean, if she does one, I'd watch
Yeah.
it. But
I watch it every night.
Yeah.
I do it
Okay.
with a glass of Macallan.
Yeah. Well, this is basically a roundup of how cool we think we should have been in another life, isn't it? But in The Exorcist, there is a scene where the father, or the reverend, excuse my church terminology, steals a bottle of Chivas Regal because he's got to console his friend, who I think his mother has died or been, in The Exorcist, killed, attacked and killed. So he steals a bottle of Chivas Regal to basically go and drown their sorrows together. But Chivas Regal's an interesting one because only relatively recently, what is it now? 4 weeks ago, the Chivas brothers, who own Chivas Regal, have come out and said that they're going to try and double production.
Yeah.
Ricky, you know a fair bit about that side of the market. What have they said?
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing it on the stock front. Allocations that we would have had earlier in the year. The volumes are definitely thinning, so it seems like the stock is being held back for that sort of blended boom when you've got trade deals being signed off, demand increasing, but from the same supply chain. So we're definitely seeing that they're gearing up for more exports, definitely.
Yeah. But the Chivas brothers said they're going to try and do just that for India going through, which is enormous because obviously it's a huge market. We've talked about that, you know, until we're blue in the face because it is so important for this market. But Mexico is going through. Tell us a bit about Mexico.
Yeah, so Mexico, really strategic, important trade partner for the UK, especially for Scotch. They're the 7th largest importers in the world of Scotch, the biggest in Latin America.
It's a bit of a surprise, that, isn't it? You wouldn't have thought Mexico and Scotch that big a market.
No, it's a really big one. And this trade deal looks like it's mutually beneficial because it will mean for the UK, when we're importing tequila, we'll get it at a much fairer rate as well. So they had some chats and talks at Diageo's office over in London. And it looks like it's progressing pretty well.
Nice one. Anyone a tequila drinker here? Glenn?
To me,
Reese? Angelo's putting his hand up in the background.
To me, it sounds like the greatest trade deal: tequila for whiskey, alcohol for alcohol. Can you just imagine the boardroom meetings? They just pull the bottles out and they discuss. They're either going to add zeros or take off zeros.
So
They're
now
so drunk.
we've gone from imagining ourselves as Bond to imagining yourself as an alcoholic diplomat. That's what.
Listen, we all have dreams.
Yeah. I think that's important, isn't it? The whiskey world is just a looking glass into our dreams. Yeah. So that's great. Mexico and India seemingly going the right way. Back end of last year, we had Australia and the US.
Yeah, US frozen tariffs. By the end of this year, whiskey as a whole in America will be the most consumed alcoholic product, taking over vodka. Obviously, they've got a big bourbon market in the US, but it does go to show that, you know, from our previous episodes, the stereotypical whiskey drinker from many years ago is no longer that, and it's a market that's open for all ages, all different styles and expressions, and I'm guessing we're going to see some of those today as well.
Yeah, and I think that's really important, and I don't want to constantly talk about it because I know we've all spoken about this in episodes this season, but whiskey, as the market develops and as more people come to drink whiskey and enjoy whiskey, they've got to be able to do it in their own way. Gone, I think, are the days of you've got to drink neat whiskey, no ice, and you've got to be a real purist to enjoy it. You know, we all have different tastes, and the snobbery, if you will, is starting to leave the market a little bit. I know that Pravin at Matura was telling me that there's a bit of a difference in the demographics. So sometimes the younger people are enjoying whiskey-based cocktails like we are today. Yeah. But then again, you get some slightly older customers and older whiskey fans doing the same thing. So there's no one size fits all, but who thinks they're going to have the best cocktail?
Bond wins every time.
I doubt it. No, I think the Hibiki one will be interesting, and then your Exorcist cocktail. Let's have a look and see what that does.
Yeah.
It's going to be walking out upside down.
It reminds me of the blood and sand we had in Matura. It's going to be something impressive, scary, intimidating, isn't it, if it's the Exorcist? I have a feeling the Glenfiddich will be a great base for a cocktail. Maybe not the most exciting in this expression, maybe not the most exciting drop to drink neat, but it could be a great cocktail. Who's keen?
Yes, yeah.
I think it's probably time for a drop, isn't it? Well, come on, Angelo, let's see what you've got.
So guys, for the Biki, I choose to do a whiskey sour with a tropical notes. So I'm gonna use Biki, velvet phyllenum, lemon, passion fruit, vanilla syrup, and egg white. We start adding Ibiki, of course. There will be 40 ml, velvet, just a hint of 10 ml. I don't want to cover the Ibiki notes too much. Then we go for some fresh squeezed lemon, passion fruit puree, vanilla syrup, and egg white. For the Glenfiddich instead, I choose to do a Sazerac, but to not make it so simple, I want to twist it up with a little bit of banana, so there'll be a nice note to add to the Glenfiddich. We start with some banana syrup, just a little bit. I don't want to make it too sweet, and of course, Peychaud bitter, Glenfiddich, and cognac. Dry lemon, and it's ready. For the Macallan, I just do a Rob Roy, which is usually Scotch whiskey and red vermouth. But today I wanted to twist it up with a Amara Verna, which is a Sicilian liquor, herbal liquor, and let's go. For the Dalmore, I choose to do one of our signature cocktail on the menu, which is called Barbershop. And it'll be a mix of course, Scotch whiskey, Kahlua liqueur, and Chambord, which is a raspberry liqueur. Let's go for it. For the Chivas, I choose to do a Boulevardier, which is a variation of a Negroni. So instead of adding gin to the Campari and the vermouth, we're gonna add Scotch whiskey. So let's go.
Chaps, this is I think the moment we've all been waiting for. We're going to go in the same order, I think it's only fitting. Reese, what have you got there?
Well, let's find out. I mean, from what I understand, it's supposed to be pretty citrusy. And of course, it's got that Hibiki base, so let's give it a go.
Are you getting rid of the garnish?
I am indeed.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was advised to by Angelo. That's not my own decision. Right. Okay. So that's very citrusy, as described. You can really taste the orange. There's a little bit of like a banana in there as well. But in terms of the actual whiskey taste, I think because the flavors of the citrus are so strong, I think the Hibiki, you can taste a little bit of like a smokiness come through. But because it's being sort of calmed by the citrus, because the citrus is as loud and as powerful, overall just has a very, very smooth taste. Certainly the kind of cocktail I think you could have a few of before you realise what's happening.
And what would you rate it out of 5?
Out of 5,
I'm gonna put you on the spot here.
I'm gonna give that a solid 4.
4?
For sure, yeah.
The bar's been set pretty high.
4. Yeah.
Okay, so we've started with a 4, and that, to me, I'm gonna be the official independent adjudicator here, which means I'm gonna be able to taste everyone's drink. But that looks fantastic. Does it taste as good as it looks?
I'd say so. I'd say so.
So that's a pretty tough start to beat.
Pretty tough start. The bar's high, guys. The bar is high.
Dylan, what have you got?
I don't actually.
You can't remember?
Yeah.
I think it's Sazerac. I actually
I've
had
had
one
too
of those
many.
at the bootlegger, so it'd be interesting to see your thoughts.
Yeah.
I thought it was quite nice, the one I had, but
I know it's
the
cognac,
pressure's on Angelo. See if he...
and normally there's like a sugar.
How's the smell? Is it dancing on the palate?
Yeah, it's nice.
We could tell by your facial expressions.
He's not known for being a man of many words, Dylan, but when he says something, it's great.
Yeah, nice.
Moving on, I would pass the torch over to Glenn, but I'm actually pretty thirsty now, so I'm gonna try mine. First impressions, the Chivas Regal from The Exorcist. That's a proper colour for a drink.
Yeah.
Let's have a go.
I feel like I need to start singing "We Like to Drink with Chris." Chris is our mate.
Not for this sort of drink. Wow. That, and this is not a proper review, but the very first flavour I got there was of the, what do you call those frozen lollies in the long...
Ice poles.
That's it. The Coke flavoured one.
Right.
It's not bad at all. I'm going to try again. That's fantastic. It tastes nothing like anything to do with The Exorcist, but that's a great drink. I'm going to have the recipe off you for that one, because that is really, really smooth. It almost doesn't taste as though it has whiskey in it, which, you know, isn't a good or a bad thing. Overall, it just works nicely. Doesn't have any of that harshness or that burn that you might associate with certain whiskies, especially if you're not a big whiskey drinker. Really, really easy to drink. Very smooth finish. Probably going to give that a 4 out of 5 as well. Dylan, we didn't get a rating from you.
Oh, yeah.
I'd say, yeah, probably 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5?
4.
Yeah.
Okay, we've got 3
because
fours.
it's not overbearing. Actually, no, I'll go for 3 then.
3 out of 5.
Throw a curveball.
More reasonable.
How
Okay.
would you improve it, do you think?
More alcohol.
Fair enough.
Okay, so we're on a 4, a 3, and a 4. Glenn, you're up. We're going to stare at you whilst you do this.
Oh, that's good.
You've definitely got the fanciest glass,
Yeah, definitely.
He is James Bond.
to be fair.
I do feel like I can talk to Scarlett Johansson now, which is a good thing. Yeah, the only thing I'm disappointed at, it was half full, Angelo, come on.
You don't have to finish it, but
Oh, when it tastes this good, yes I do. Yeah, I can taste the liquor side of it, as you said. Yeah, it's not too overbearing. When I like to drink these cocktails, I don't like it strong. I like
gotta
it
be light.
firm, where you can taste it and enjoy it. And I think the garnish, of course, helps. The liquor bit is a very nice complement to it, and you can still taste it after you've consumed it, and it's a nice feeling.
it's not too complex, it's not too difficult
No,
to deal with.
Yeah, it's very simplistic, and I feel like you enjoy it more.
The basics done well.
Yeah, yeah.
Angelo, I've got to ask, is there any method or reason for having used a glass that shape?
Yeah, because usually Manhattan is served in a coupe or a martini glass cocktail, cup, yeah, of course. But just in case I wanted to inspire it to the prohibitionary period, that glass is kind of old school.
Spot on.
That's why.
These are all great. I just wondered because this one's a little bit more exotic than the rest.
Yeah.
But we've been learning throughout the first series as to why certain things are served in certain glasses and the actual difference that it makes. You'll know this as well as anyone.
It makes the notes
For the
feel
smell
better.
and even the taste and also the experience does make a difference, and that's not talking it up or that's not, being too fruity with it, pardon the pun, but it really does make a difference, doesn't it? Particularly in bootlegger. They take that sort of thing really to a seriously the next level.
Absolutely. I as I said, they made sure that the glass was chilled. There was a variety of different things. But once we set on the Sazerac, he was very attentive to the preparation process, and of course, picking the right glass is a big part of that.
Yeah.
That's another thing that Nick said when I did mine. It was, I think the best way you can start to enjoy cocktails is actually just say, I like this, keep it as simple as possible. And then you kind of get to go on an avenue depending on your palate and your taste. And that's one thing that's really helped me enjoy it a lot more, especially the Highland stuff. Just give them an understanding of what you like, even if it's simplicity.
Because you're not a cocktail man originally. You prefer things slightly more simplistic.
Yes.
Not basic in a bad way, but you know what you're getting, and there's less chance of it not being to your taste. Have you found that it's been a bit easier to experience new things and enjoy drinks that you might not have before?
Yeah, and I think a big factor is actually asking the people behind the bar, this is what I like, I tried this, I like this, I didn't like it because of this. Keeping it as simple and as straightforward probably goes with my personality traits as well. But it's just more, you can cut out the stuff you don't like, get to the stuff you do like, and then slowly go over depending on which way.
Outside your comfort zone a little bit, but not too far.
Yeah, because then I think you can maybe get disgruntled and then you miss out on a lot of different drinks, different opportunities, different ideas. Whereas if you take it a step at a time, you then can broaden your
100%.
palate in this case in a much, much better way.
That is definitely the case with whiskey. You'll be not so keen on something, and then one day you might taste it in a different drink, in a different setting, at a different bar, and a sort of light bulb goes off and you enjoy it. And I know for a fact that's happened to Ricky a few times recently. So I'm very keen to hear about your cocktail, Rick.
Yeah, well, the last one I had at Nightjar was served in a bowl. So this is in a conventional glass. So let's have a go.
Taking
It's quite
his time.
strong. That's quite strong. I mean,
what we did.
yeah, yeah, you can have this one. No, I know we're in a basement through a barbershop, but it is 26 degrees outside. So on a terrace somewhere, that's the sort of cocktail you'd want to have, enjoying the sort of conditions of spring and summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite punchy. It's definitely not one that I'd recommend for somebody who is new to whiskey, because I think that is quite strong. So,
too much for you?
A little bit, yeah.
Little bit.
I'll be honest, it's a bit strong for me, but I understand the appeal that would probably have.
May I?
Please.
I'm going to have to give an opinion on this, because that is, I don't know if you can see that, but that is a fantastic colour.
Yeah.
It's a sort of deep orange, ruby red. Oh yeah, that is strong.
Strong cocktail.
That is strong. Now, there's a lot of people who I think that would really appeal to.
Yeah.
It's not for me, but that being said, I don't like a Manhattan anyway. Although it's not the same, it's based on a Manhattan, isn't it?
It's based on a Negroni.
Negroni, excuse me.
One of the strongest cocktails.
Yeah.
If it's just alcohol, there's nothing, just alcohol. And it's Campari with some bitter liquor that makes it even stronger.
Well, a lot of people have, in my experience anyway, started drinking Negronis a bit more in the last couple of years. Not a cocktail for me. That definitely, without a doubt, will appeal to a lot of people, but that's not for me. What are you going to give it a rating? Ricky's rating.
Yeah, Ricky's rating, based on appearance and the right setting, I'd give that a solid 3.
Okay.
But yeah, it's not for me.
But not for you?
No.
Okay, that's absolutely fair enough. So guys, obviously, we've had a lot of fun doing season 1 of Meet the Pros. The upside is we get to taste fantastic drinks like these and go to some really, really cool places in and around London that aren't a million miles from the office, which is nice. But ultimately, it's been educational, I think, and with the wider markets, the stock market, the property market, the bond market, doing things that aren't what people want them to do, and it's a little bit turbulent, it's uncertain, it's unprecedented, words we're all a bit bored of by now. More and more people are coming to the tangibles market. More and more people are investing in whiskey who, when the stock market was looking strong, may not have even thought about it. Ricky, you've obviously had an incredibly long career, please excuse me for saying incredibly long, but a very long career in financial services. You enjoyed a cocktail that was based around a bottle that is £120,000?
Yeah, minimum, yeah.
Are people really out there today spending that much money on a bottle of whiskey?
Yeah, definitely. I think from my background in financial services, you've got traditional investors who are at a certain age, and just their understanding of what's possibly coming down the line. So not having too many eggs in the same basket is definitely a conversation that a lot of us are having with people, and trying to hedge against some eventualities that sort of boom bust cycles show us, especially in equities. So I think it's pretty fair to say we're living in quite an uncertain world at the moment. One thing that is certain, those people are always drinking alcohol. So what we've learned on season 1 is the demographic of whiskey drinkers is expanding. Trade deals are happening. So I think that a lot of switched on investors are looking at things that are not maybe as volatile, but will just give a good return. And Dalmore, Macallan, for example, breaking records of auction prices in the last few months.
Well, not only are people always drinking whiskey, and there's no suggestion that's going to stop, but all the while that other markets have been struggling, or at least very, very volatile and difficult to predict, crypto, the stock market, etc., these record prices have been tumbling. So in the last, year, the cask record has been broken 3 times? Yeah. I think I'm right in saying, and there's a rumour that it's about to be broken again.
Yeah, we've got some ghost distilleries that are going on auction from Diageo, and we're just finding, not just with whiskey, but just tangibles in general. Mercedes, they had a recent auction price, which was
the 300 SL, and it's a one of one. It's a German gentleman's name, and I'm not going to pronounce it because I'll butcher it. But what was it? $141 million for a car.
Yeah. So we're definitely seeing. I mean, Dylan and Risa, you've got some clients that you've openly said in the last few months would never have considered this market, but they've sort of felt like, It'd
be interesting to get your perspective though, because I mean, obviously based on the fact that you've done so much in the financial services area, why do you think it is become such a hot topic in terms of specifically tangibles, and of course whiskey's become part of the forefront of that? Why do you think people are so keen on tangibles at the moment?
I think it's just a natural, as a defence. Gold used to be a hedge against stock market volatility, but I think with a precious metal, there's some limitations there. So people are looking at consumable goods. So by definition, whiskey is a diminishing asset. So as it's consumed, there's less of it available, and I think there's a track record that is pretty strong. We work with distilleries that have been around since the 17 and the 1800s. So when you're looking at robustness, these distilleries have gone through world wars, recessions, and they're still here to tell the tale.
And doing better than ever.
Exactly.
The amount of distilleries growing their facilities, being able to cater for more visitors, for distillery tours and trips and that sort of thing, it seems to be never ending. Every week there's a news story of a distillery receiving funding from Barclays or doubling the visitor side of their distillery. So whether or not more people are drinking whiskey, which we know they are, but that aside, more people I think are taking an interest in whiskey, not only investing in it, but also just understanding how it works. And once people understand how it works, a bit of a light bulb goes off, I think. But it would be great, wouldn't it, Rick, to have a cask of whiskey that ended up being, every bottle is £100,000.
Can you imagine, casks that hold 200, 300 bottles of whiskey? You'd be...
Yeah, you wouldn't be sat there, would you?
No. And I'd probably be on their Christmas card list if we were able to pick ones out like that. But we're in a really fortunate position. Like I said earlier, the challenge is stock, but that's just a challenge that I'll...
Well, you say the challenge, that's your challenge, really.
My challenge.
In the same way that making these was Angelo's challenge, we're going to leave it up to you two to actually do the hard work, which has been brilliant. But chaps, it's been a really fantastic series. I know I've certainly enjoyed it and learnt quite a lot. Hopefully those watching at home have learnt just as much and enjoyed it. If they haven't, then I think what's about to follow is our blooper reel, so you can see we're actually human and not quite as polished and glossy as this. But otherwise, gentlemen, it's been a real pleasure. Cheers.
Can I stop now?
Thanks for your hospitality. I'll see you soon. Oh, that's good.
Just a stone's throw away from London Bridge to meet the folks at the Bootlegger and find out, you know, just what they have on offer today. We do that again.
How do I look? Sexy. Spirit, liquor made up with rum.
Before we do that, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about where we are and kind of the story behind Black Rock?
Sure. So Black Rock, it's Black Rock is a whiskey bar. I'm gonna do it again.
I need to be in shotgun. Or do I? No, I guess not. Sherry that gives it that slightly sweeter.
That's
the Oloroso.
Yes.
Yeah.
The Oloroso, it's adding a bit of a fruitiness. It's
Yeah,
adding
it's
a bit
nice.
of like, it's adding like a bit of sweet to the drink itself.
Yeah, awesome. Do you want more?
Should I ask him a question?
Yeah.
So Nick, how long have you been doing this for?
So I've been doing this about 15 years now. Started off in a small hotel where I was looking after the bar, the beers, the cocktails and the whiskey. And then I moved to York and then fell in love with the phone just about to ring.
Second location, and interestingly, their previous occupants have been in their second site. Interestingly, occupants of their previous where I'm going to be meeting Nicholas, who's head of. So let's go. I should have walked in. Nicholas.
Hi Ricky, how you doing?
I'm good.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to see you. Let's do that again.
You've probably done that a million times.
You stop it?
Wait, you can get my bald spot from that angle. Go further away.